Sorry. Sorry, I wasn't. I didn't realize. बोलना चाहिए ना कि अनम्यूट आवाज नहीं आ रही.
मेरे को लगा कि आप वेट कर रहे हो बाकी सबके लिए.
We were discussing questions from the textbook. Before we we will begin with reading comprehension today. Yesterday, half the people weren't there. We discussed sheets. Today, so I'll share the worksheets online, and here I have given printouts so it's easier to do. Yeah, take this one also. Okay. You've done reading comprehension now? So in reading comprehension, what were the main things that you kept in mind? When you're working on strategies, we won't go through the textbook details yet, you can go through the details. We will go through just the summary of it, right? Shyam, you can see the screen? Mahir, are you there?
Yes, ma'am, I can see the screen. 1 minute.
We will be doing. Now, comprehension to recipe reading, understanding you have been doing for the Jumbles, completion, even the longer passages form, or the shorter ones, for the fill in the blanks, right? So what are the main strategies for reading? You read the question. So I'm taking it out like what's the question key? Taking care of the paragraph complicated. Yeah, you have to read the paragraph. Now, what are the main things that you keep in mind? You go through the passage. Do you read every word of the passage when you go through it first time? Skim, right? How do you skim through the passage? How do you know they are important? Yeah. So the skimming through the passage means going through the first sentences and last sentences of every paragraph. What is the first sentence of every paragraph do? Introduce it. Last sentence of every paragraph will give you a conclusion or summary of the paragraph or continuing into the next paragraph. Right? So while you are skimming, you go through the first sentence. If the first sentence is too long, then don't read every word. So while you are doing this, you get an idea about the passage. What the passage is about overall. What are the main points of each paragraph that you are getting? And so you know which and whatever comes, like some important terms are there in the paragraph. At a glance, you can look at them. Some dates or figures are given in the paragraph. So you know where what is in the passage. That is the main thing about skill. You get to know what the passage is about and where what is. So when you come to the question, you know where to look for terms. Right? So that saves your time. When you get a passage, never ever start reading the entire. Yeah. And if there's a main idea question, even if it comes first, keep it aside, go on to the other questions. So when you have done all the other questions, so the inference question you've done, the direct question you've done, the vocabulary question you've done. So while doing the other questions, you get an idea about the entire passage. Then you can take to the main idea question. Right? So when we talk about the strategies, so now the main, you will get in IPM Indore, you will get 2 long passages. For Rohtak and JIPMET, you will get say 1 or 2 short passages and 1 long passage. Rohtak may also come up with long passages. JIPMET can also give you 2 short with 1 or 2 questions and 2 long with about 4 to 5 questions. That's what they didn't get. 24 paper में they are given 2 long passages and I think 1 or 2 short. Before that, they are sometimes they give only short passages, but with the difficulty level increasing, they are also increasing the difficulty level. So the competition increasing, they are increasing the difficulty. So now shorter passages are easier. Longer passages. So how do we go about it? So what are the main purpose of the reading comprehension is what? To see how you can analyze things. Yeah. Same for paragraphs, same for paragraph. How you analyze. So critical thinking is what they are testing. So IPMAT Indore element, there will be about 5 to 6 questions. JIPMAT may give you 4 to 5 questions. And you've already done, so I don't need to repeat much. So the paragraph types or the passage types will be anything between literature to science, technology. So analytical thinking, comprehension, inference, vocabulary, in context, identifying main ideas is what you're testing. This is a question that will come. Okay, now another thing, reading comprehension, you will not leave any questions. Why? If you look at the number of questions that come, about 12 questions reading comprehension के आ रहे हैं. Wait, is it now? 14. Yeah. So at least about 1/3 will be your reading comprehension. So don't get your answers wrong. Is it comparatively easy to test? Not very difficult, but you have to be careful. Because it won't be plain simple or school level assessment. It has been giving some of the questions which were easy, but not now. All your question papers normal form, then it seems to be easy. So standard multiple choice questions will be there, usually with one option, but you have to read carefully. Some questions may ask you to give or mark 2 options. And if they ask you to mark 2 options, then both options should be correct. Half credit nahi. Either both are correct or both are correct. Or even if one is correct, you will. Right? You have to make sure about that. So multiple choice, read all answer choices, of course, we know that. Huh? And this one I already said, no partial answers. Okay. And especially if you have those true false questions, this is true about something. Will they give you easy options? So one of the statements may be partially true. Another may be completely true. So you have to be careful of choosing the one that is completely. So eliminate anything which has even something which is not based on the passage. So your answers will all be based on the passage. Even if you have questions which relate to inference, inference will be based on the passage. It will not be something that you have to aim for outside. And when you come to vocabulary, it will always be in the context of the passage. So synonyms can be given, but with all synonyms fit into the passage? No. So always look at the context. So this, okay, some questions can have like all three answer choices. This we already said, I think. Yeah, this is important. Now, when you are answering, and you are in a hurry, of course, you want to complete fast, read each option. Always read every option. But when you are eliminating, like we did in the sentence improvement, read the entire option. Other images. So time management is issue. So if you have 5 questions or 6 questions per passage, how much time per passage? You have to read the passage. Each question by themselves may not take much time. So 6 questions are going to take about 4 minutes devoted to the questions and about 2 minutes to the passage. So 6 to 7 minutes you can devote to a reading. Yeah. So you have to read fast. That's why I said don't sit and read word by word by word. Just get an idea, because when you come to the questions, you will be going back to that portion. So you can focus there. So accuracy is also important for overall for the entire test. So effective reading, as I said, skimming and scanning. Skim through when you come to the questions, scan for the passage, that is go into the details. From skimming, you get the main idea. And if it is a very long passage and you think you don't have enough time to skim through all the paragraphs, then, and yes, maybe it's difficult, at least read the first paragraph and the last paragraph. So after you have skimmed through, go through the first paragraph, right? And last paragraph, last sentence or last 2 sentences of the before you get to the questions. Now, if you come to a main idea question and you haven't read the entire passage, then what? Still your first and last paragraph. And if you can't figure out a main idea of what will be the main idea, because it's talking about a lot of things in the paragraph. So you scan to look at details, and as a rule, do not read the entire passage. So when you are skimming through, you have already created a mental map where what is. So you have more or less summarized each. That was the main idea of each paragraph. Then you. Okay. Now, when you have important information related to a particular question, now say 2 questions relate to the same paragraph. Can be a vocabulary question plus a big question. So while doing the vocabulary question, you read more or less. So what are the critical information you have taken in? And other than that, when you are dealing with the questions, you have to focus on the important information. So when you are connecting dots, what connects the main points? Go through this. Now, always we have dealt with clues. What are the main things? Like even in the paragraphs. Then from the entire sentence, we look at the important piece of information. So once you get to the important piece of information, you can separate the unimportant parts. So main ideas and supporting ideas. These are the two things you will come across in a big passage. Main idea is something that is the entire passage is dealing with. Supporting ideas will be like what are the problems, analyzing problems, giving solutions, or supporting facts of the idea. So always distinguish the two. Okay. And yeah, supporting facts will be giving you more details, so advancing the ideas will be there. And okay, now there will also be some paragraphs which you will be analyzing. Some points will be only giving you facts. So you have to know, okay, these are the facts, this is the analysis. So once you have an idea what the entire passage is doing, it becomes easier to eliminate answers. So distinguishing ideas and the relationship between different ideas, as we have done in paragraphs. Main transition from one idea to another is important. And keywords and transitions are important throughout. They help you to answer the questions properly. Now we need to go into the strategy, different types of questions. So you have the direct questions where you get, it is based on a single piece of information. Yeah, or maybe two pieces of information. So this is stated in the passage. Can you answer directly? So you can find the relevant information, go into specific details, and get your answer. Then the indirect questions like inferences. What does the author mean by saying this? So the rhetorical questions, those will not be like explicitly stated, but you can figure out. Right? So these you have to, like they say, read between the lines or in. But the inference should be based on what has been given. So it should be like this particular piece of information leads to this. Leads to that. If that particular piece of information doesn't lead to the inference, then it's not. So this is about critical thinking, of course. So here we, like always, we look at what is a theme, what is implied. So and we spoke about tone. The tone can give you the perspective of that also. Okay, then there will be the vocabulary questions, which will be in context. So context of words, sometimes not only the particular sentence, but what is said before and what is said after are also important. Now, main idea there. Switch off the AC. Right, and it use it will become stuff. नीचे जाते हैं ऊपर नहीं जाते हैं हाँ कैसे और इसे भी आई डायरेक्ट ज्वाइन करते हैं तो what do you mean by the main idea of a passage? The main idea of the paragraph. So what is it talking about? Right? Overall, what is the theme of the passage? Theme of the passage. So if you're talking about theme, if you are asked to summarize, yeah, then also the same thing comes in, right? So all these type of questions will be dealing with the main idea. If you ask about the title of the passage, give a title to the passage. Then also the main idea, what overall it is about. Now, when you come, so the broad view of the passage, right? So that comes from your first paragraph and last paragraph. So one central point we are so and follow. Yeah, this is important. It could be that the first paragraph spoke about one particular point, and the rest of it then develops into some particular aspect of it, right? So what is the flow of the passage will give you the particular aspect. So maybe the first paragraph is dealing with two aspects, it introduces two aspects, but the entire passage is talking about one of the aspects. You take note of this, right? So become a little complicated sometimes, but yeah, title will contain the subject of the passage. Sometimes it may happen that the title, the options are, say, idioms of the words. Then you have to figure out which idiom of the word given suits the title, suits the subject of the passage. So this will be also related to the central idea. So when we talk about titles, it could be explicit, that is, the words from the passage can come up, or it could be indirectly stated, like a verb or idiom. So no matter what, you have to be able to figure out what it means. So if you know what the idiom means, you can get your title, right? And yeah, this is important. Title will never be something related to the book. Title will be related to introduction and main line. Okay? So when you go along, you summarize the interior paragraphs. Overall, what is it talking about? What is the flow? And you get to know what the author is trying to say, or what the author is saying. Vocabulary and context we already spoke about. So find the meaning with respect to the passage. Now there could be questions where a sentence is given and which word and words are given to you in the options. And they will ask you which word summarizes the idea of the passage of the sentence. Right? So here what do? What is the main idea of the sentence? What is the sentence talking about first? And so when you get a sentence, what do you usually do? In all questions. Paraphrase, say it in your own words, becomes easier. So if you understand what the sentence is trying to say, you can get your answer. Simple. And then you can figure out what it means. Now, we have been talking about author's tone all this time. And we know what the author's tone means. What did we say about the author's tone? Positive, negative, neutral, yeah? Whether it is critical or is it supporting that. So if if the entire, if a passage is, say, analyzing something critically and giving opinion that this should not be done, or the government's policies are not in favor of something, it is critical. If the passage is saying something like the government policies have been beneficial, and the author may say that according to me, the government should follow these policies, it is supporting. Yeah, supports the policies. Yes, Marian, what happened?
Sorry, ma'am, got disconnected. There was some issue with the Wi-Fi.
So this we already did earlier. You have to just remember, recap of what we have said, positive, negative, or neutral. So if it is appreciative, it is a positive approach, the supporting. Being sarcastic would be a negative approach. And objective, just stating facts. Okay. So these are the questions we already talked about. The detailed question. Okay, all and except type of questions. This is where we get it. Right? And we have to be very careful when we get all of these except one particular except what has been discussed in this. Or the author supports all except, or which one of these the author supports? Which one of these author supposed to be there? Our mind works straight. When we get except, that's where we get. But if you're a little careful, you will never go wrong with these questions. So here we look for the clues, of course. What do we eliminate? Yeah, something which is not related. Yeah. So, so anything that is odd can be your answer. Depending on what the question is saying. It could be like all of these except one has been stated, or all of these except one has not been stated. That's a double negative. So all of these except one has not been stated. Then what are you looking for? The one that is not stated. Except one has not been stated. So what are you eliminating? So usually the except ones will be odd statement and not given in the passage. So we come down to what we have to do. Focus on the structure of the passage. So how does it begin? What is it talking about after that? So if it's talking about a problem, is it introducing the problem? Then talking about the problem, analyzing the problem, going to the solution. If it is giving you a solution for something, it will be analyzing the solution and why it is beneficial. Right? So the main idea comes out from the structure mostly. Tone, attitude. And okay, now when you are dealing with questions, there could be some, depending upon the question, there could be some options which deal with minor details. So something has been stated, dash has been stated about something in the other author. Right? Or which of these have been stated by the author about some particular. So there could be something important being stated and some minor details given. So what will be your answer? Something important. Yeah. Something which is giving you only minor details will not be your answer. If the minor details are given along with the something important, then you can still choose. But only minor details will never be your answer. And scope trap we have done earlier also. We've done scope in para completion. Yeah, something that is not in the scope or not stated anywhere in the passage, or you can't even imply, that will not be your answer. And something extreme, also no. The author always says this, or this always happens, or does not ever happen. So this will not be your answer. Okay, let's look at this question. Then we go a couple of questions here. We're going to do in this case. Okay. Now, if you read the question, the word sharp in the paragraph most nearly means. Now we have to figure out where the sharp is. Yeah. So more or less we have to read. Where is sharp? Where traditional sharp reduction. What does sharp in this context mean?
I think it's
Intense. What is the sentence talking about? Our seemingly insatiable appetite for seafood delicacies like smooth salmon, king prawns, and grilled sea bass have inevitably contributed to a sharp reduction in ocean fish population. So now sharp can be piercing, can be abrupt, can be appreciable, can be sharp, intense. In this context, only intense will. So intense means something that is large, huge. Yeah. So that's what we talk about when we are talking about vocabulary in context. Now, what is the sentence talking about? Insatiable appetite for seafood. Insatiable means unlimited, something which cannot be satisfied. So is this happening abruptly? Or is it happening on a large scale? Large scale. So sharp reduction is only abrupt, it would be intense. Now this is we read the passage and the question says this paragraph best supports the statement that. So which of these we can figure out or conclude, or we can say we can infer from the given passage. What can you eliminate? So what is the main idea that you get from the passage? What is it talking about? That Shakespeare's works are in demand, right? And why they are. The psychology he portrays in both male and female characters are amazing even today. So people like the characters even today. Simply. Yeah. So Shakespeare's characters are more interesting than fictional characters today. Have they talked about fictional anyway? People today are interested in Shakespeare's work because of the characters. Because of the characters, it does talk about the characters. Academic scholars are putting together an anthology of Shakespeare's work. Have we talked about that? Putting together anthology? New Yorkers have a renewed interest in the work of Shakespeare. Renewed interest? Huh? It doesn't talk about renewed interest. They have an interest. Yeah, it's talking about renewed interest, right? New Yorkers have a renewed interest in the work of Shakespeare. Paragraph best suppose a statement, that means which one of these we can say. So we keep B because of the characters. We come back to that. Shakespeare was a psychiatrist. Okay, now between B and D, can we analyze a little more? If you look at B, what does the passage talk about characters? As scholars point out, the psychological insights he portrays in both and female characters are amazing even today. But from that, can we conclude that people are interested because of the characters? Can we say that for sure? But only because of the characters and not because of the way he has written or because of the plot or other things. The characters are amazing even today. But is that a reason why people are interested? Right? So the only statement that for sure we can conclude is, or there is have renewed interest in the book of subjects. Right? Though B seems to be correct, but if you analyze, it's not something that we can say. This one part. Yeah, it's not that people are interested because of the characters. Right? Yeah. So here it is about the tone. What is it talking about? Right? And tone means how it is being taught. Positive, negative, critical, sarcastic, pessimistic, these will be tones.
Critical but optimistic.
Critical but optimistic. So how do we get it? Have you read it? Okay. It says traditional values are changing. We are aping the West, making monkeys of ourselves. So is that positive? There is something that is negative, critical. Yeah. While Hollywood is exploring the history of their own people and making epic movies like Gangs of New York, Pirates of Caribbean, Hollywood is, etc. Hollywood is busying itself with desperate attempts to make amateur American teen-like movies and Hollywood flicks. While we concentrate on remixing songs and duplicating English videos, we are slowly stepping away from the path of originality and individuality. So this is also critical, right? But always look for, when you have these type of questions, look for contrast. But while, so all the transitions will give you clues, while in the last generation, there was just plain following of Western principle. Now, there have been greater benefits. So we are talking about something better than that. The youth today are not, youth today not only learn from the West, but like their great ancestors who built this nation, are combining this knowledge with our own culture. Yeah, combining knowledge with our own culture. Now time has come where the West is aping the East. Yeah? But WTO, styles, etc., hit markets, making it so forth. So while there is a change, like I mentioned earlier, it isn't all for the worse. So this is giving you the main goal. So it was critical. Then I said, okay, not everything is bad. So what's your answer? Critical but optimal. Denouncing and pessimistic, both are negative. So we need negative to positive, right? So this will not be the answer. Sympathetic and hopeful is not sympathetic. Critical and pessimistic, no. Denouncing critical. So A is the only answer. So what did we look at? We looked at the flow of thoughts. Yeah, where is it changing? So in a passage, if such a question comes, you have to figure out, is something changing or is it the same form? Right? So here, now we go to the worksheet. So we will begin with worksheet number 21. And then we will. Yeah? Okay, for you people, I'll share the screen with you. You can read. It's a short one. Can you see the screen? Mine?
Yes, ma'am.
You can read this and answer the question. Here again we have paragraph best supports the same, something that you can surely say from the Bible. Which first question? Okay. Chia, what's your answer?
No, just wait a minute.
Not done yet? It's a short
No.
paragraph. So long. Mine?
D, ma'am.
B?
D, D.
B or D?
D for dog.
B? Sure about that? So the whole thing is talking about reading critically, what you should do, slow
Ma'am,
down.
my answer is C.
Your answer is C. Okay. Okay, let's see why you got, okay, why did you choose C? Best critical reading happens at critical times in a person's life. Is the passage talking about critical times in the person's life? Shyam?
Yes, ma'am.
Is the passage talking about critical times in a person's life? Do you get this from the passage? Is it talking about your life? Or critical times? You get it anywhere? So your answer
Yes.
should not include something that you cannot get from the passage. Right? So will C be your answer then? So, okay, you're still confused at A. Critical reading is a demanding process. To read critically, you must slow down, read slow down reading and with a pencil in hand perform specific operations in the text. Mark up the text with your reactions, conclusions, and questions. When you read, you become an active participant. So the whole passage is about how to read. We are not talking about critical times anywhere in the passage, right? Critical reading is a slow, dull process. No. Readers should get in the habit of questioning the truth. It's not talking about that. Only thing that we can get to is requires thoughtful, careful attention. Yes, Shyam, got it? So your answer will never be something that is not stated in the passage.
Okay, ma'am.
We'll do the second one. This is second one. Here's question 2. Yes, anybody else with the answer?
D, ma'am.
D?
D.
Shyam, you also said D? D. Okay. Shyam? Come on, hurry up.
Yes, ma'am.
What's your answer?
B.
D or B?
B.
E.
B for boy.
Litigation is expensive, slow, and limited by its reliance on following the letter of the law. So, is that what it's talking about? Is the passage talking about litigation being slow and limited? Litigation is not always the only or best way of resolving conflicts. Then it goes on to mediation offers an alternative approach. And the rest of the paragraph is talking about the benefits that you get out of mediation, right? So, what will your answer be? Will it be litigation is expensive?
No. It will be D then.
It will be D. It won't be B. Read
Yeah.
carefully so you can get to the correct answer. B. Yeah. But the whole passage is okay. Another thing. Now, between C and D, C is also talking about mediation being good. It's talking about the best way, right? That is extreme. And if you are comparing, now, if you look at the passage also, it's talking about why mediation would be better than litigation. But can we say best way? No. We just can say that it is more effective. Okay, now for those who are online, you can read the passage and then we'll go on to the questions. Think barbaric. Barbaric, you know. You don't know barbaric. It would be related to uncivilized. Okay? If you don't know a word, at least what will you do? Read the sentence, figure out what it may mean. Okay, Mahir and Shyam, tell me when you are done with reading, I'll go on to the questions. Right? So, yeah, we'll have to scroll up and down a little in this. But that's still good. Sorry, I should have shared the worksheet.
Yes, ma'am.
So your question number one. One. Let me know when if you have to scroll back up. If you've got an idea of the passage, you can answer.
Thus, the repeat would be like 6 का A option. Model
Which one?
6.
6 ka A.
Yes.
It would mean something like you are making progress, but you don't care about things if you look at the context. Yeah. So you are advancing, you are becoming civilized, but what do you not care? So,
Technically, they.
so technically it would be progress without, say, like the whole thing says without models.
Ma'am, can you scroll down with the fifth and sixth answer? Section.
5 and 6. Done. Four questions. Done?
Yes.
Okay. So, what is the passage talking about? Hmm? And we should learn to,
Selfishness.
we learn to sacrifice. Yeah. And so mutual cooperation and sacrifice for the good of society.
Yes.
That's that part of the sentence in the middle. So that's what we may learn from the B's, and then it goes on to, it teaches us the lesson of cooperation and sacrifice for the larger goal. Then it goes on to progress without caring any pain or suffering. Is that what we are looking for? So now the answers. This was easy. How can we be truly civilized? Which one? D. Yeah, detail. Now we can, now here we can easily eliminate. Yeah. So A can be eliminated. Wealth, power, education is not mentioned anywhere in the passage. So D is your answer. Yes, Shyam? Mine got the answer?
Yes,
Mine,
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
what's your answer for 4? Mine?
Um, B.
Hmm?
B for ball.
So it's not physical strength, rude or blind behavior or character.
Yes, ma'am.
Number 5, what is the theme of the passage? Hmm? C, man's moral and
C.
spiritual.
Mm.
It can't be rise and fall of empires, man's search for truth, or man's quest for ideas. They can easily be eliminated. Okay, number 6. Hmm? A. Moral. So it's related, even if you don't know the meaning of the word turpitude, we can still get to the answer. Because lack of education eliminate like high ethics. High ethics doesn't lead to exploitation. Weakness of some people is not talking about. Hmm?
Weakness of some people.
Weakness, is it talking about weakness of some people anyway? We're talking about cooperation. Yeah, we're talking about morals. Are we talking about weakness? No. And the question is, what is the basic reason for exploitation? High ethics cannot be the reason for exploitation. So eliminate everything, we are left with A. And it should, and that's the only answer. So if we look at this place, how wonderful is it to see men and women and boys and girls smiling, going ahead on the path of progress without caring any pain or suffering, right? So turpitude would mean progress without pain. You can have the word. Among the word and letter. Okay. The, the next passage.
Now, what do you mean by flattening?
Right?
What do you mean by flattening?
Latin.
Flattened.
Latin means to make flat. Oh, in this case, if we figure out what it could be, flattened out by cold means to be absolutely down,
Okay.
right?
Like, would it be like dominated by something?
Yeah,
this case,
cold
yeah.
is dominating you. That also can be.
Yes, ma'am.
And ma'am.
Hold on. Answer 7 and 8, I'll scroll down.
Ma'am, can you slow down?
Right, done with 7 and 8?
Yes, ma'am.
with the answer.
This was easy. This was very
Yes, very easy.
This was one of the JIPMAT, I think 21 or 22. Yeah. Isn't it? What standard was? Okay, the answers. This was easy. Shouldn't get them wrong.
7C,
7C, 8,
B, B for ball.
9,
C,
C, 10,
B,
hmm?
B,
B was kind.
B
and-
for ball.
Yeah. This was easy. Okay, Shyam and Mahir, since you are online, I have just checked the group. I've shared a PDF for the next worksheet, so I don't have to scroll up and down. You can download and use it. Right? So we'll be moving on to
No.
the next one. So it's just check worksheet 21 if you can open it.
20.
Yeah, sorry, worksheet 20. 20 or 21 there?
21.
Mm.
What did I say?
From
here?
which question, ma'am? Start.
1 minute.
Ma'am, you have sent the IPM 2023. I am Indore verbal.
Right. So you can begin with it. You people, the next worksheet.
Comprehension 1.
Yeah, comprehension. So it's difficult to scroll up and down on the screen while I share. I'll send it to you. I'll share it.
Okay, ma'am.
Begin with it. Do the first passage. So when you are dealing with a big passage, what are you doing first? What did you do?
Skimming.
Skim. Yeah. So get an idea of what the passage is about. What is the passage about? Hmm?
What does parents mean?
Huh?
Fifth car first.
Perils. Perils means dangers. Right? Perils literally means dangers. Move on to the next passage if you finish, we will discuss the answers. Two passages done. Yes, my head, first two passages done. Shyam, two passages नहीं हुए. Be careful of the not valid question. And not valid. Yes, she should be. If there were first. Two factory. First. First two done. First name of the. Or do you want to discuss two and then move on to the third? You complete. Huh?
We discuss everything.
Yeah, we'll discuss everything together. So at least your speed won't break. First passage takes a little more time, second takes a little less. How do you are better? Arboreal. Because to read the sentence, you get the answer. Try to think.
Like I said, either by ground dwellers or by arboreal or alien animals.
So two types of animals. On the ground and
Alien. Interesting.
arboreal means those who live on trees. Right? Ground trees aerial. There's Shyam, Mahir, Michael. The answer? No. Yeah. Shyam, are you done? गया सबका? जम कभी हो गया कि नहीं? So, how was it? Doable?
Fine. Third one, I got not.
Overall, you can get to the question answers. Yeah. So with more practice, we can reduce the amount of time required. So this was practice to get to the answers. After this, the worksheet I will give you. You will mark your time. Not more. So you will see, can we do it in 5 minutes? 5 minutes may is it doable? Answers?
Practice.
Huh?
Some practice, we take some practice.
Yeah. That's what I said. The more you practice and keep in mind that this is my time limit, you'll be able to accomplish. Answers check here. Right? So the first one was about sleep deprivation and how the body is affected. Right? How sleep helps. So questions. Question 1. Advisor reader. Period 4. So provide medical input. Is it providing medical input? It is giving you information about why sleep is important. So psychological insight नहीं होगा. Exposed to this information, right? Provide medical input to the reader. It's not exactly medical input. It is providing information. So advise the reader why you should sleep properly. That could be an answer. 2, 3. Everyone says 3. Shyam, you answered question 2. 3. Exercising. So insufficient sleep can lead to obesity. It talks about obesity somewhere, but not exactly related to sleep. So it's like insufficient sleep causes something which leads to you eating. That's why you end up. Irregular sleep patterns can result in health problems. Okay, now the question was which of these is not correct? Right? So obesity it was talking about ultimately can result in health problems. Yes, it does. Exercising and eating healthy foods alone ensures fitness. No.
Yes.
Yeah. One's body and mind soul can be should be properly relaxed. Okay. 3.
Mental exhaustion.
Very wrong. Okay. What did you think? Metabolism loss. Now, remember one thing. We are looking at an answer which is according to the passage. Is the passage focusing on loss of metabolism? It can imply, but this is a direct question. Being deprived of sleep can result in. Is it talking about mental exhaustion? It is, right? Is it talking about loss of metabolism as such? Not directly.
Sleep deprivation can lower levels of leptin, a hormone that stabilizes metabolism and
Indirectly.
So, but does that imply loss of metabolism?
can lower level of leptin. So
Yeah, that is a particular metabolism. There are other hormones also which are responsible for metabolism. So can we say that it can sleep deprivation can absolutely result in metabolism loss? Loss is talking about lowering. There's a difference between lowering and loss. Right? Yeah, loss becomes extreme. Lowering metabolism agar hota, then it would be right. right? So terminal illness nahi hoga, hunger, satiation. No, it's the opposite. It results in hunger. So here 2 is your answer. Number 4.
Second.
Second, we have, if we want to be mentally and physically fit, be physically fit, we have to have a sleep pattern. 5, this was easy. Main focus of the passage is carriers of insomnia. 6.
6.
6.
Second.
Second, everyone said second. Shyam, you got the answer? This one, what was the second passage about?
Apple store in India.
Apple store, why they came up with the Apple stores, how it's affected, then it goes on to production, why produce in India, right? Okay. What is not true?
3.
So regulatory restrictions were eased in. There's a date given, 2019. There's a specific. Okay. 8.
3. 3 or 3.
Not materially impact sales on items. What's your answer? You mark 2. Derive healthy competition on the smartphone market. Is it talking about competition with other phones? If you look at this part, you know this. Yeah, second paragraph. It is not the third line. It is not as if this will change Apple sales in any dramatic way. Right? It's not going to affect sales as such. So, not materially impact sales. Okay, number 9. 9, what
I
was
guess
it?
4.
Yeah.
4.
4?
Correct.
Yeah, that's correct. It offers the benefit of a manufacturing base in addition to market. So it's talking about market and we are manufacturing here. So it will not be no other country, that's an extreme. Yeah, as a same ease of, is it talking about ease of doing business in China? American technology companies want to reduce reliance on China. Does it talk about that? Doesn't talk about reliance on China. It has a world's second largest population. Does it talk about population?
Right.
Okay, question 10.
4.
4.
Correct.
So that it's talking about challenge. Apple's challenge while opening physical stores is to retain links with their partner sellers. So here we were talking about
Note to 18.
without the last paragraph, real issue will be to pull customers to the flagship centers
Okay.
without alienating partner sellers. That's the answer. So one thing you have to remember, whatever the direct questions are, or even if you are inferring, it should be based on something that are already been said. 11.
First.
Strategic importance, that is in the conclusion, right? Premium mark. 12.
Third.
Hmm?
I guess third.
Yes. It's talking about Apple's aim is not only to increase sales of its iPhones, but to draw people into Apple's ecosystem. That is, getting more customers who would buy iPhones. Right?
Technically, iPhone
This statement-
like answer can.
Answer is 4. No, sorry, answer is 3. Big customers, it's not 4. It's talking about customers, draw people into Apple's ecosystem. So, fourth is talking about being a market leader, it's not talking about customers. And A says attract customers by displaying a wide range. No. Attract customers to buy phones through innovative means. No. Bring customers into a network of related products. Ecosystem, network of it. So the whole ecosystem includes all products. So 3 will be your answer. Right? The next passage. What is this? Bananas, apples. So we're talking about 2 different categories of foods and some hypothesis related to it, how they are distributed, and some problems related to the study. So findings were different from what they thought. And the limitations, why were there limitations? Because they were thinking of fruits eaten by people, studying. So what will the answers be? Question 1. What was the answer? A? Vishti?
Actually, भूल गया कि exist करता है.
Okay, you didn't read that question.
तो last moment पे मैंने C किया है.
C किया है. The main point of that the writer makes is that fruit-bearing plants. We are talking about fruit-bearing plants. It's not dividing into which type of plants. So, if you say C are better protected than other plant species, does that make sense? We are talking about fruit-bearing plants. So, have the same problem in propagation as other plants. We are talking about, are they talking about the plants being protected? The main topic of the hypothesis is propagation. So it should relate to propagation. A and B can be easily eliminated. All kinds of the main point. We're talking about the main point. So A can't be the main point. It's one problem. B can be the main point? No. It's one of the results or one of the, say, influences that they got out of the study. Yeah, I hope you got your answer to 1 correct. 2, what's your answer, Shyam? Study has been based on what? By humans. So, University of Tokyo, no. Consumed by animals, wild fruits consumed by animals, no. Fruits sourced by greengrocers, no. It's clearly stating consumed by animals. Okay. 3. Arboreal and camouflage. Arboreal is not ground dwelling. It's tree dwelling and camouflage is disguise. Hidden, fortified and variegated. What a variegated mean? Hidden also. So all of those are synonyms. But arboreal doesn't mean ground dwelling, protected or covered. Arboreal doesn't mean ground dwelling, protected or covered. Okay? So you can look at the meaning of variegated. Okay, number 4. 4. Make here. 4. Okay, where did you get stuck? Why did you get stuck in this? Origins of distinguishing characteristic between 2 types of fruits, climactic and non-climactic are. So the origins of distinguishing is what? It says the origins of distinguishing the characteristic between 2 types of fruits, climatic and non-climatic are what? Are they clear now as a research of this, as a result of this research? Is it clear? Can they, so in your, if you look at the paragraph, in paragraph 3 and 4, do we get an idea that the difference is very clear how they are propagated or why is it so? They talk about not having clarity, right? So can be the, now nebulous in spite of research. Now if you say I don't know the meaning of nebulous, right? So Partner, look at the others, what can be eliminated? Clear now that as a result of the research? No. Can we say trivial at this stage? Is it trivial? Trivial means not important. No. Dependent on researcher observation. Can we say that? No. Right? It is dependent on what actually happens. Researcher observation is wrong, as we see in the passage. So we have eliminated B, C, and D. A is the only one left. We can go with that. Huh? Nebulous means, can you get an idea of what nebulous could mean? Nebulous in spite of research means it is not clear. Right? Nebulous, you can have the meaning, nebulous means not clear. So even if you don't know the meaning of a certain word, you can figure out the answer. If you have eliminated everything else, that's your answer. Okay, 5. According to the passage, interest in the difference is what?
Commercial.
Eh.
Whenever you
Most of the commercial, like.
If you look at the first sentence, it says, difference between climatic and non-climatic food matters to food growers and greengrocers. So that means commercial. Fruit growers, they would be selling the fruits. Greengrocers would be selling the fruits. So difference is important for them. 6. Did you figure this out? So there are two statements, 2 findings. Non-climatic fruits tend to have vivid colors, right? Now the researchers also talked about non-climatic fruits having vivid colors. And the second is, okay, first let me know what is your answer.
B.
Yours is B. D. Okay. Durga, what's your answer? C. Okay. And Yushri, what answer did you mark? D. Okay. Shyam, what did you mark for 6?
B.
B or D? B for ball.
Yes.
So now we have to, now this is a little analytical. You have to figure out based on what the passage is saying. So here, non-climatic fruits tend to have vivid colors, number 1. And 36 varieties of climatic and non-climatic fruits were eaten predominantly either by ground dwellers or by arboreal or aerial animals respectively. So now if you look at the options, what are they trying to tell you? Finding 1 proves main evidence, so it's talking about evidence, main evidence and supplementary evidence. Right? So now in these 2 statements, what the researchers actually found was based on what? Non-climatic fruits tend to have vivid colors, so they are attracted. Non-climatic means they are on the trees. They don't ripen afterwards. They ripen on the trees. So animals eat them on the trees. That is a fact we have come to know. Now the second one, and what did the researchers initially think? offer a solution. Fruits they observe exist to solve problems faced by all plants. How best the progeny around, right? And then it talks about how the trees make it most favorable, right? And then it goes on to biologists propose climatic or its absence as a way of achieving this. Ground-dwelling animals are the main distributors. Then the continuing ripening is beneficial. If by contrast, those distributed by arboreal or aerial and so can feed on fallen fruit, then non-climatic fruits will do well. And then it also goes on to say that, the vivid colors, it says, may help them to stand out amid the foliage of the parent plants, advertising their presence. And climatic fruits are generally better camouflaged. This makes them harder to spot. So that is a fact. Does that lead to does the color lead to a main evidence?
No, sir.
No. Right? Now, the second one, 36 varieties of climatic and non-climatic fruits are eaten predominantly either by ground dwelling or arboreal. So either of them can propagate. Yeah. So initial thinking was, what was the initial thinking? If we break it down, that yeah. So they were looking at a correlation between plants grown on fruits that ripen on trees and how they are propagated, and those that fall down or ripen later and how they are propagated. But they found, and initially they thought that those which are dispersed by animals and they grow on trees or ripen on trees would be better. But that was not the case, right? So it says 35 of these fruits eaten by both ground-dwelling animals and arboreal animals were non-climacteric. So both arboreal and ground animals ate them. Non-climacteric means, what were the non-climacteric ones? Those that grew on the tree, that ripe on the trees, right? So 35 of these fruits were that. So 15 of 19 varieties eaten were principally by ground dwellers, while 21 of 26 was by aerial animals. So if 35 of the fruits, that was a majority of the fruits, were eaten by both, then could we say that that only one way is better? No. Yeah. So now we come to the findings. Finding one provides main evidence. It doesn't. A can be eliminated. B, both findings provide supplementary evidence. Are both supplementary? One of them will be the main. Yeah. So color is not the main evidence, but the fact that the climatic and non-climatic were eaten either by, so both the types of animals ate both the types of animals. So that is the main evidence, right? So finding one is supplementary, finding two is main. So both of them are not main, both of them are not supplementary. One is supplementary, two is. Yes, sir. Alright. So you have to see, here is where we distinguish between the important points and the lesser points. So when we say main evidence, what can be the main evidence? So we are talking about a study and the results out of it. Based on what was the study, what were the findings? Okay. So 10. Okay. So these you can check your answers. Answers sheet be ahead. If you have any doubts, we can discuss on Monday. Right? Sorry for taking extra time. Okay, so you will be completing your classes till 10. And you will be doing your math mock. I will discuss all of that on Monday. And any other doubts you have while you are practicing? Okay, Shyam? Okay, Monday, Shyam, I would want you to be in class, physically present.
Yes, ma'am, I will be there on Monday.
Because otherwise it becomes difficult to discuss the tests.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay then, thank you.
Okay, ma'am.
Monday I will be joining online.
Joining on it, yeah, yes.
It's festival.
I know, it's festival. I'll also be coming to class, maybe I will be joining online. Come to class. I'll also be here. It's your new year, it's my new yours. Yeah. So Monday, Tuesday, it's on festival season. Okay. Tell everybody, the class attending at 2 hours. I'll be back for lunch. See, what happens when you are attending online is that you miss out on a lot of things. Yeah. Focus मेरा भी नहीं रहता है इधर देखो किसको पूछूं. Try to be here. If at all impossible, then पूरा traveling time extra लगेगा. Ask somebody to drop me. Okay then.